First news, Arman warns Ilya and Paddy Pimblett. Arman is set to face Mauricio Ruffy next month at UFC 331, and he is already looking beyond that matchup. If Arman gets the easy win he expects, he has made it clear that he wants a title fight next. During the UFC 331 press conference, Arman explained that becoming champion is his biggest priority. He believes winning the title would make him one of the biggest stars in the UFC. But Arman did not stop there. When he was asked who he would rather face after winning the title, Ilya or Paddy Pimblett, his answer was simple: both. Arman confidently claimed that he could fight both of them on the same night, showing just how much confidence he has in his abilities. He said, "I need a title fight. I need a title fight and become a champion, and I'll be the biggest star in UFC." When asked whether he wanted Ilya or Paddy more, Arman responded, "Both of them, same night. Easy, man, easy." That statement certainly sends a warning to both Ilya and Paddy, especially with Arman believing that a championship victory could put him on another level of stardom. However, before any of that can happen, Arman still has Mauricio Ruffy standing in his way at UFC 331. Ruffy was also asked about people claiming that the only way he can win is by taking advantage of Arman making a mistake. That sets up an intriguing fight, because Arman is already looking toward championship gold, while Ruffy has the opportunity to completely shock the lightweight division by stopping those plans. Move on to another news. UFC 330 has officially wrapped up, and the UFC has already delivered some huge announcements for its upcoming events. 2 title fights have now been confirmed for UFC 333, giving fans plenty to look forward to. First, the UFC announced that Sean Brady will face Gabriel Bonfim in the main event of UFC Vegas 124 at the Apex on November 7th. But the bigger news came with the announcement of UFC 333. In the main event, Alexander Volkanovski will defend his featherweight championship against Bozar Evloev. This matchup is expected to be a major test for the champion, as Evloev gets his opportunity to challenge for UFC gold. Then, in the co-main event, Podayan will defend the bantamweight title against Merab. This is another high-level championship fight that could have major consequences for the bantamweight division. The announcement immediately created excitement, with reactions showing just how much fans have been waiting for these matchups. The energy was clearly through the roof, with celebrations, screaming, and applause following the news. For Volkanovski, this will be another opportunity to prove that he remains one of the elite fighters in the UFC. However, Bozar Evloev will be looking to completely change the featherweight landscape by taking the championship away from him. Meanwhile, the bantamweight title fight between Podayan and Merab adds even more excitement to an already stacked UFC 333 card. Both fighters have plenty at stake, and the championship could change hands if Merab is able to execute his game plan. With 2 title fights now officially announced, UFC 333 is already shaping up to be a major event. Fans will now be watching closely as more fights are added to the card, and the UFC continues building what could become one of its biggest events of the year. Move on to another news. In the main event, Islam Makhachev defeated Garry via unanimous decision and successfully retained the welterweight championship. With the victory, Islam now owns the longest win streak in UFC history at 17 consecutive wins, surpassing the record previously held by Anderson Silva since 2009. Both Carlos Prates and Michael Morales were watching from the crowd, and one of them could potentially be next in line for a shot at Islam. Following the fight, Henry Cejudo praised Islam, saying that the champion separated himself in the final round. Brennan Schaub also gave Islam credit, saying there was no doubt that he won, but noted that, for the first time in a long time, Islam looked human inside the octagon. He also warned that Michael Morales could be a major problem for him. The MMA guru, however, was far more critical, calling it the worst possible outcome for a main event. He pointed out that, aside from the head kick in the second round, Islam spent much of the fight controlling Ian against the cage and taking his back without doing much damage. Dana White also expressed his frustration with the performance, saying that Islam landed the head kick in round 2, but then did very little for the rest of the fight. His comments reflected just how disappointed he was with the overall action. Despite the criticism, Islam remained respectful toward Ian after the fight. He praised his opponent and acknowledged that Ian gave him a difficult challenge, while making it clear that he had once again proven himself at the highest level. Ian also showed class in defeat. He said he had nothing but respect for Islam and repeated that he believed he was the better fighter going into the matchup. However, he accepted the result without excuses and gave Islam credit for getting the win. Ian also described this as the best camp of his life, thanking his team, his family, his wife, and his young son for supporting him. He explained that he fights to make them proud. The night ended with Islam retaining his title, extending his historic win streak, and putting himself even further into UFC history. Move on to another news. Dana White was not happy with Garry following his fight against Islam Makhachev, and his criticism focused on one particular moment in the 5th round. Dana pointed out that Ian shook hands and embraced Islam at the beginning of the final round, despite having a huge opportunity to make a statement. According to Dana, Ian had already shown impressive takedown defense throughout the fight, making it difficult for Islam to consistently control him. Dana acknowledged that Ian is a very talented fighter. He described him as a rangy and powerful competitor with excellent takedown defense, and he was particularly impressed by how well Ian defended Islam's attempts to take him down. However, Dana believes Ian was missing one important quality: killer instinct. Dana explained that if Ian had shown even a small amount of killer instinct in that 5th round, the fight could have ended very differently. He believed Ian had been doing significant damage to Islam's body and that Islam's right side appeared badly beaten up. Dana also pointed out that Islam's face had taken plenty of punishment. Because of that, Dana could not understand why Ian would come out for the final round and shake hands or hug his opponent. For Dana, that moment was extremely frustrating because there was so much at stake. This was not just another fight. Ian had the opportunity to potentially make the biggest statement of his career against one of the most dominant fighters in the UFC. Dana also emphasized the importance of mental gamesmanship in MMA. When fighters reach a critical moment late in a fight, they have to maintain the mentality that they are still trying to finish their opponent. Instead of embracing Islam, Dana believes Ian should have come out aggressively in the 5th round. He suggested throwing something explosive, such as a flying knee or another crazy attack, and trying everything possible to finish the fight. In Dana's opinion, Ian will eventually look back at this fight and realize that he had an opportunity in that final round that he did not take. Despite the loss, Ian proved that he belongs at the highest level. His takedown defense was impressive, but Dana believes the biggest lesson from this fight will be about developing that killer instinct when the moment matters most. Move on to another news. Arman has revealed that he originally wanted to fight Justin Gaethje, and he also explained that a matchup with Charles Oliveira was actually in the work before everything changed. Arman said he had agreed to fight Charles, but unfortunately, Charles pulled out. That forced the UFC to find another opponent, and Arman is now preparing to face Mauricio Rufy instead. Arman explained that he has been staying active, even though he has not competed as frequently as he wanted because he was waiting for a potential title opportunity. He also revealed that Gaethje did not want to fight this year, which played a major role in his current situation. With Gaethje unavailable, the UFC offered Arman an opportunity to fight in Los Angeles, which is close to his hometown. Arman immediately accepted the opportunity. He also confirmed that when the UFC offered him the Oliveira fight, he said yes, without hesitation. Unfortunately, that matchup fell apart after Charles withdrew due to a situation involving his friend. Despite losing the Oliveira matchup, Arman has nothing but respect for his new opponent, Rufy. He described Rufy as a great fighter and believes their matchup will be extremely entertaining for the fans. Arman sees the fight as a classic wrestler versus striker matchup. He has been studying Rufy's previous fights and believes the striker has developed into one of the most dangerous stand-up fighters in the division. Arman specifically praised Rufy's striking ability and pointed to his knockout victory over Rafael Fiziev. According to Arman, Fiziev is one of the best strikers in the division, so defeating him with strikes shows just how dangerous Rufy can be on the feet. However, Arman believes the fight becomes very different once it reaches the wrestling exchanges. He confidently stated that, when it comes to wrestling, he believes the advantage is on his side. Arman knows everyone expects him to shoot for takedowns, but the real question is when he will make his move. He could shoot in the first round, the third round, or even wait until the fourth round. That unpredictability, according to Arman, could be one of his biggest weapons. Now, Arman is focused on Ruffy, but his comments make it clear that his eyes are still on the biggest fights in the lightweight division. Move on to another news. Fans are now speculating that Khabib could finally be appearing on the Joe Rogan Experience, and there is now a major update that could make this possibility even more real. Following the UFC 330 ceremonial weigh-ins, fans noticed Khabib having a fairly lengthy conversation with Joe Rogan before leaving the stage. The interaction immediately caught people's attention, especially because it came just days after Khabib appeared on the Lex Fridman podcast. During that appearance, Khabib discussed the possibility of sitting down with Joe Rogan and said that doing a podcast together was essentially inevitable. Now, the timing of this latest interaction has fans wondering if the long-awaited JRE appearance could finally happen. A Khabib appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast would already be massive by itself. But there is an even bigger possibility that has fans excited. Some are imagining Khabib bringing his entire team with him, including Islam Makhachev, Umar Nurmagomedov, and Usman Nurmagomedov. A podcast featuring all of them together would be an absolutely huge episode, giving fans an opportunity to hear the team discuss their careers, training, UFC experiences, and much more. And now it appears Joe Rogan himself may have actually opened the door for this to happen. Khabib posted an update on Telegram revealing that Joe Rogan had watched his recent podcast appearance with Lex Fridman. According to Khabib, Joe told him that he really enjoyed the conversation and then asked him directly about doing a podcast together. That is a major development because it suggests the idea is no longer just fan speculation. Khabib has become one of the most respected figures in MMA since retiring from competition, and his conversations outside the octagon have given fans a different look at his personality and perspective. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan has been one of the UFC's most recognizable voices for years, making a conversation between the two an extremely high-profile moment for MMA fans. If the podcast does happen, it could become one of the most anticipated JRE episodes in recent memory, especially if Khabib decides to bring members of his team along. For now, the latest update confirms that the conversation has already been started, and Joe Rogan has made it clear that he wants to sit down with Khabib for a podcast. Move on to another news. Conor has provided another update on his recovery, and according to his latest post, his healing process is moving much faster than expected. Just a few days ago, we reported that Conor was feeling good and keeping his head held high while recovering from surgery. Now, he has given fans another look at his progress by sharing 2 videos on Instagram. One video showed his knee, while the other showed him actively working through his rehabilitation. The footage gave fans a glimpse at the work he is putting in behind the scenes as he continues his recovery. Conor explained that he is currently undergoing what he described as some of the most advanced training available for orthopedic surgery and sports science recovery in California. He credited Dr. Ellie and Heather Milligan for helping him through the process. What caught everyone's attention was his progress just 8 days after surgery. Conor revealed that his leg was already able to activate, while he was also able to fully straighten the leg and activate his entire quadriceps. He described that level of movement so soon after surgery as essentially unheard of. Despite the difficult journey ahead, Conor remains focused on his rehabilitation and appears determined to continue making progress every day. He also shared a message about the recovery process, reminding fans that everyone's journey is different and that people should not be so quick to judge others. For Conor, the priority right now is getting healthy and continuing his rehabilitation one step at a time. His latest update suggests that the recovery is progressing well, and the early movement in his leg has certainly given his supporters something positive to celebrate. The road back is still long, but Conor is already putting in the work and staying committed to his recovery.